destruction, construction and a trackbed? What's that all about? Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Right, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly Model Railways. And I'll keep calling it that until we've got a name. But before we go any further, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who's offered suggestions about what this layout could be called. Piccadilly something. And there's some absolutely fantastic suggestions already. And it's probably around it's coming up to 6:45 on Sunday night. So it's not that long after the last video, probably just, an hour and 3/4, isn't it? So thank you so much. I'll have a look through the list and then make some decisions in maybe a week or two's time. We'll see how it goes. But what I thought would be quite nice is I've got a plaque there, which I made when I was about 10, 12, something like that, to actually make another plaque of the channel logo with the name of this logo and then named by, and then we put it up there, and possibly even send one out if you would like one as well, whoever that might be. But I did say I would give you my thoughts on how this is going to pan out. So these are my initial thoughts. Things might change. There's nothing set in stone at the moment, but the traverser, as I said, will go down there, and that really does depend on the length of the settee, or the position of the settee, I should say. I can cut the traverser down but I'd rather not if I can get away with it. But my initial thought is going to be 3 layers. So there will be another layer down there as a first layer for trains that don't need turning round, so like the APT, the Flirt, that sort of thing, so they can just come down, park up and then go back out again. That won't be a problem. But the bottom layer will be for trains that are locomotive hauled, so freight and locomotive passenger services, that type of thing, heritage stock. So I would like to put in a board at the end of the traverser. So the traverser sits here like that, and there's this static board at the end, which is long enough for a locomotive to come off and then move the traverser up a blank line and then join the other end. So that would be absolutely brilliant, particularly for the diesels. Steamers, probably not so much, because I'd have to probably physically turn them round, but I'll have a think about that another time. But and then obviously there's going to be ramps coming up. I did mention something in a previous video, a bit like what Graham had a few years ago on his previous lakeside layout. So something along those lines. That's, again, my initial thoughts. Now, for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll probably realise that there has been a bit of a chunk chopped off. And I had to do this quite quickly because I wanted to get it in. It's been outside for the last 3 or 4 days. Lovely weather, no damage whatsoever. But the river was here and the viaduct, and I didn't want a river to be here. The water is going down the other end, and the position of this layout, or this board here, really does depend on the circle coming round, and and how the lines come in. Now, I did say it's going to be a double track dog bone, which would give me 4 running lines along here. But in actual fact, for this section, from around about here to more or less where it starts the next circle, I want there to be 5 lines. And the reason for that is because the middle line is going to be a bit like a reverse loop. So a train on this line obviously is going that way, can cross over to this line, cross over onto the middle line, and then cross over onto the 4th line, which will effectively change its direction and bring it back the other way down this line. So hopefully you can see how the idea of having the traverser with the static board and being able to turn a loco haul train around, I can take it all the way down, take the loco back to the other end and then back out, and then it follows the same procedure all over again many times. Now I am thinking about putting in one of those plywood strips along the front edge here. Okay, so that would give me more space here. It's not 3 foot, Alan, I'm sorry about that. Private joke there. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be a reasonable amount of space in some way. Now, if we go down to this end, you'll probably realise I've got the big template circle out again. And this is helping me to come up with the templates for the plywood. And I'm pretty much ready to start putting the plywood onto this board, which will be the track base for the base layer, if you like, the bottom layer. So what I'm going to be doing is it's going to be like a big sort of polo shaped, if you like, if you remember the old suite. So there'll be a hole cut out here, come across, and then that will join up down there with whatever's going to happen there. Come round here, kind of like that, and then swoop in. So you can see, hopefully now, the position of the settee is a little bit more crucial. Right, there we go. That's the first template done. That's taken a few hours to get that right. So I've used the A3 paper and stuck it together with masking tape. And the beauty of that is that if you get it wrong, you can just stick another bit over the top or cut bits off and stick bits on. And as you can see from that, it really doesn't matter. And I'd rather do it with A3 paper, A4 paper even, and stick it together and get it the shape I want it, than to cut up all the board and then find out you've got a gap or something that doesn't quite line up properly and things like that. You know what I'm saying. But I've also, because it's got to be at a certain level, I've tried to level it out as best I can using scraps and other bits of board, bits there and so on. There's blocks all over the place. You might be able to make a block out just underneath there, just to sort of prop it up a little bit and give it some, well, it's on the level, if you like. But anyway, so what have I done? Well, I've got the shape I want, and then I've cut it or split it into the different sections, as you can see with the lines, and then numbered all the parts. So hopefully you can make out the numbers there and so on. And as I said before, I've come up with a plan. Now, it's not exact by any means, but it tells me what I want to know, where each piece goes, that type of thing. So that's, I think, from my point of view, that's got to be crucial, because I want to get the most efficient use out of the board. I don't want big bits going straight into the bin, really, because I can't use them. So you might be wondering, why have I put all these arrows on? Well, they simply point to the inside. And I'll do the same on the individual parts when I've drawn them up on the board using the templates, and it will just be easy then to place them back where they've got to go. I will be using little bits of fillet like that. You can see there's a bit of plywood there, so it'll be that type of thing going underneath and gluing and screwing to make sure I get a nice solid bond, which will be using the plywood like this, and just cut them into little bits. Right, so I think it's time now that I get this cut up and place it onto the board. I'll catch you later. So that's the parts already drawn up onto the first piece of board. I'm not going to do this for everyone, but just to give you an idea of the type of thing that I've been doing. I can tell you that this, if I was to cut it out in its entirety, I would have needed more board than this to complete this section alone. So by doing it in this way and then putting the boards back together, I'm using the wood more efficiently. I have got a little bit left over there. Yeah, probably not going to be able to use that for much, but nevertheless, I've got it all on. So next case is to get the jigsaw out, and you'll see it after I've done. Ready? Well, it's taken several days to get this far, and it's not just that bit. But this has almost been cleared, and you can see where that's going at the moment. So I'm just now working my way through lifting all the track here, and there's going to be a strip running down the front just there to make that a bit wider, and then obviously you can hopefully see the dog bone starting to appear. And I must admit, the circle is turned out to be a lot more gentle, than I first anticipated, which has got to be a good thing, hasn't it? And I think those are going to work out very nicely, and particularly with those lines coming in, and there'll be that extra space coming down here as well. Now, you may decide this is going to be a sad moment, I don't know. But obviously this has got to go, and those tunnel portals have got to go because they're just not big enough for the 5 running lines that I'm going to have. Right, there it is. That is the track bed in and done for the basic layer, the initial dog bone. I'd say it's probably taken about 5 or 6 days to get to this point. And I must admit, I'm really quite relieved that we can actually start thinking about some track work now. It is a little bit rough and ready in places, I'm not going to lie. And there are some gaps. That's fine. I can cover those up with a bit of tape. And I might have to do a little bit of fettling with the track work once we start laying track. But again, it's all part of the fun. Now, what have we got? So there are 3 main sections. So obviously this is 1. And that's 2. And the join is across there where the beam is. And then the 3rd section obviously is this bit, and the join is across there. Well, why is that important? Because every section each is going to have its own bus wire and its own separate connection to the Z21, which I can then use to join together and create a jumper wire from one section to another, which will be good if, as and when I have problems. I can isolate one section or 2 sections or whatever it might be. Maybe even use one section as a programming track. I don't know at the moment. We'll just have to wait and see. But that would be good as well. But there's lots of different possibilities that we can use for those different sections as well. But you probably realise the biggest change is on this middle bit. Obviously the layout as was is pretty much gone. The station remains, and I've done that as a bit of a nod back to what was Piccadilly sidings, and I don't want to get rid of that, to be honest. I've had to get rid of quite a lot. Obviously the sidings have gone, which was the name of the layout. The 2 tunnel portals have gone, the coaling stage has gone, and I can reincorporate some of those things in other places. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm not totally sure how at the moment. But I think my initial idea for this station is just to let it die. And what I mean by that is let nature take over. So the weeds start growing up, all that sort of stuff. Maybe let the lampposts start rusting up completely, and all sorts of different bits and bobs like that. More so like this platform was. But again, if you've got any other ideas, please say. It will be interesting to hear what you've got to say as well. I'm not going to promise, but you know, it will be interesting to hear. Now, I've left one track down because I can't really see the point in taking it up, because I'm only going to lay it down again. Yes, I have got concrete track for the majority, but to have one little bit there will just indicate the little bit of heritage that once was. So I'm going to leave that as it is. And not only that, it's a good bit of track. Now, I have got cork on the whole of that layout, that particular stretch, but you'll notice there's no cork anywhere else, or there won't be any cork anywhere else. Personally, I'm not a great fan of it anymore. I did put it down initially a few years ago, with the idea, like everybody does, of sound deadening. And to be honest, it didn't really make a huge amount of difference. Once the track is glued to the baseboard, the sound transfers through the cork, and it's still, you still hear it, any noise. It might deaden it a little bit, but it's really not a lot in it, to be honest. So I'm not going to bother. Cork is quite expensive, and it's just an expense I can do without, to be honest. But if you like it, then great, go for it. It's up to you. But I am going to have the 5 lines running through the middle. Hopefully there will be some kind of embankment down the side here, maybe some supports for the line going across. At the exact details of that at the moment, I really don't know at the moment. It's far too early to say. As I said, I just want to get trains running on this for the time being, see how that goes. I probably will screw it down with screws and washers initially, just to get the trains running, and then as time goes on, take those out, glue the track down, and then start to balance things and things like that. I'm hoping not to keep it like that forever and a day, maybe a month or so. I don't know, don't hold me to it, but we'll just wait and see how it all goes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having this running again, and it's nice to be able to regain space, to be honest, and to have the settee sort of in a more favourable place as opposed to tucked up that far corner is going to be much better. In fact, I can get to that cupboard over there now, and get into the cupboard below, which I couldn't do with the settee directly in front of it. So that is going to be an absolute bonus. I can get to the window and get all the way around there without any problems at all. So I can get to any issues over that section, and I can pretty much reach from anywhere and get to any issues anywhere on the layout without too many problems. So yeah, looking forward to it. Anyway, keep the names coming, and hopefully by the beginning of the next video we'll have a name chosen. All right, anyway, you take care of yourself, and I will speak to you very soon here on Piccadilly Model Railways. Bye for now.